So today is day 3 of my 30-day challenge. Yesterday was day 2. I didn't post a video because I didn't have a lot of time, and so all I actually did is got on and ordered some jets that are going to go in my eccentric shaft to adjust the oil flow from the eccentric shaft into the rotors. And there'll be a different video on that once I get them in. But that was my day 2. I hunted those down, got those coming so I can do that adjustment in the near future. What I'm going to do today is install my new variable valve sleeves that I got from Atkins Rotary. You can see there's one of them right there. And what this does is it's Mazda's version, the rotary version of variable valve timing. So you'll notice this one, I've kind of put the sleeve in the hole. And you can see how there's a thing that turns it, a mechanism, an actuator that turns it, and it can open and close the flow of intake into the rotor. The advantage to that is, just like with variable valve timing, is at low RPMs, this valve would be mostly closed and would allow the engine to have a little bit more torque below 3,500 RPMs. But once it's above 3,500 RPMs, this valve would be in the full open position like that. Since I'm putting this engine in an aircraft, I really have no need to maintain that low RPM torque because I'm very, very rarely going to be there. So for me, I'm actually going to seal these in a locked position, in the full open position. The reason I bought them instead of just not putting them in there at all is because the chamber comes in and it actually goes in and dead ends to a blunt end here, which everybody knows that isn't a good idea when you're looking for intake. It wants to flow. Everything wants to flow smoothly. This port here comes and flows up, but this one just has that bottoming end. And so you'll notice in this part from Atkins Rotary, which they make to do the adjustable valve timing, but I'm going to abandon that. But it gives me that nice ramp at the end. So I am going to go ahead and epoxy these in place so they don't move and I don't ever have to worry about them again. And instead of buying these sleeves, some people have actually created that ramp with epoxy. The problem I have is I just don't want it to come loose and bits and parts of that to go into my engine. And you'll notice with this sleeve, how it slides in here from the end. There's just absolutely no possible way for bits and pieces and parts of this to make it into my motor. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up some epoxy and glue these in, and then I'll show you that process in a little bit. One other thing, they came with this pin in this hole right here. And that pin was in there, it's pressed in, and that's what the actuator would bite onto to rotate the valve. So I actually got a punch and punched those pins out. I don't need those in there in the way, and so I abandoned them. Anyway, I will go ahead and get some epoxy mixed and glue these in and touch back in a minute. So I got the first one in and done. It wasn't too bad. There was a little bit of pumping in the end. I had to hold it in deep for a while, get the silicone to ooze back out of that end so that it would go in full depth. Now I'm going to do the second one. So here's my finger for comparison. That's about the amount I needed on the last one. I didn't quite make enough the first time. I had to mix an extra batch. Took a little more than I thought it was going to. But anyway, mix it good, equal amounts, till it's good and even. Looking for a nice, consistent, dark gray color. Now on the last one, I'll see if I can set this up so you can see. Probably not, but that's all right. So on the last one, I actually took the sleeve and I used my finger in my glove and I just put a thin coat like that on it. And then I also reached down in the porthole and put just a light coat all the way around. I want to make sure that I have a good bond. I'm pulling it kind of thin because I definitely don't want so much in there that it oozes all down into the bottom. It doesn't allow me to get the sleeve in. And then I came down in the hole here and put a light coat in here as well. So the whole thing had a light coat of epoxy. Just nice and thin. I tried to stay away from the opening the best I could, but a nice thin coat of epoxy around the whole valve. Then I can just slide it in to the hole. I just rotate it a little bit on the way in to kind of stir the epoxy around and make sure I'm getting a full bite. And you'll notice on the end it isn't quite all the way in, so I'll have to put the camera down, and basically I'm just pushing it in right here with my thumb, and I'm just holding it really tight for about a minute, and that allows all of the epoxy to push out of that dead end cavity and further back around the valve, and then it won't hydraulic back out, it'll stay in place. Anyway, that's it. And the next thing I do is I look down in here, look at how it's aligning on the two sides, and make sure that it's rotated to give me the full open look. Then I use a clean rag and clean up all of the silicone and make sure that everything looks great. So anyway, that's it. You should have both of these in. And I think that once I get those jets in my eccentric shaft, then I'm ready to final assemble the motor.